So, peace, peace, peace. Just gonna go ahead and go live and just speak on it. Okay. So there's multiple things I want to talk about. All right. First, I want to talk about this whole thing about Queen Nzinga. And then I want to talk about the Pseudo Killas and Team Osiris. All right. So I want to go ahead and get started on. Excuse me. I want to go ahead and get started on this whole thing about Queen Nzinga and Pseudo Killas. So Pseudo Killas did like 3 or 4 videos about African slavery. And in one of those videos, the name Queen Nzinga was brought up, all right, because they were talking about the history with her running the kingdom in the Congo and the Portuguese, etc. So I didn't really watch it, to be honest with you, because I know that it was going to bring about the dichotomy mindset, which is why I did not entertain into the video. However, I watched the aftermath. I happened to watch a Dr. Oya Mayat, and she did a topic about Queen Nzinga, as far as if she was a shiro or an enslaver. And the sister brought up something, and I thought, but I'm not as surprised. So she was saying that there was people calling her bitches, saying she was masculine, she was a traitor, and all these different things. And they don't have the proper understanding or have that mindset to where they can be able to give better assessment. So, but to me, it's ironic. This is what I stand on my position. They did not antagonize this woman because she was a race traitor or she was a enslaver. They really antagonized her because she was a female. Because Queen Nzinga is a female that happened to be in a position of power. Now, I want to say this for a record. I don't agree with the things that was done and taking place at that time period. I don't agree with it. However, that was the historical events. See, when we deal with history, everything gonna have its good, bad, ugly. That's history in itself. So you can't look for everything to be good. And you got to look at a different time period. This is the time period of the 1700s, 1800s that we're talking about here. So Queen Nzinga was born during the time where there was constant wars and chaos, not just going on amongst the tribes, but also with the Europeans, the Portuguese in particular, because that's who came over into the Congolese area and got slaves. So if we're going to sit here and criticize Queen Nzinga for her involvement, which we're not saying she's perfect, let's look at all the rest of them. Let's not just single her out because she's a woman that was in a position of power. Let's look at all the rest that was involved in this, okay? Let's look at the multiple kings that people admire. Let's look at Mansa Musa. Let's look at Shaka Zulu. Let's look at so many of these emperors and warriors that was involved. Are you going to give the same criticism to her male counterparts? Because you gotta be fair. You can't just sit here and just antagonize Queen Nzinga and call her a bunch of bitches and say she masculine. Are you gonna give that same treatment to her male counterparts? Because they all was, I mean, at the end of the day, they was all a part of this war casualty thing. They was all caught up in this madness. So we have to be fair when we make these type of assessment. We have to be fair. You can't make an assessment and you don't have the proper understanding. You don't, but give me one moment. All right, sorry about that. I had to go get some. So here it is. I have a book right here. It's called In Praise of Black Women by Simone Schwartz Bart. So she goes into the history about the African queens, African female warriors who were all from the very beginning, from ancient Egypt all the way up to the time of the transatlantic slave trade. All right, so that's volume 1. That's the first book. But getting back to the point that I was making, we cannot make an assessment based on how we see things in 2021. Yes, we know that it was corrupted, it was wrong. But put yourself in her position. Okay? Imagine being born into a royal family. Imagine being born into a royal family, and in order to maintain the power, it's gonna come with some price that you have to pay. And that's Queen Nzinga. That was her. That was her situation. If she wanted to maintain the family lineage, she had to pay the price. If she wanted to be able to build a civilization, a society, she had to pay the price. Now, we don't know if she did things because it was voluntary or involuntary. Now, the question was, if it was voluntary, why did she do it? If it's involuntary, then who made her do it? What caused her to do it? Now, I'm quite sure deep down she didn't want to just get caught up in the wars, especially if we talking about the men battle, because that's who's mainly battling during that time period. You didn't have too many women out there fighting in these wars. But she had to put on some tough skin, and she did what she had to do. If she wanted to build a civilization, what did she have to do, and what extent did she have to go to do so? Now, again, I'm not saying that it was right, but we gotta look at this. This is a game of chess. And she dealt with patriarchal system. So she playing the game based on the patriarchal way. She couldn't play it as the matriarch. She couldn't be so loving and kind and very compassionate and all of that. She couldn't do that. So it's a dirty game that she was playing. But I'm saying, if y'all gonna make this criticism about her, I want y'all to make the criticism about the people that you follow and that you look up to as leaders. The people that you found inspiration in. I hope you do the same thing with them. I hope you give them that type of assessment. These OGs that y'all look up to in y'all neighborhood, y'all talk about this woman's a traitor. Let's talk about the people in our community that did a lot of destruction in our community. Let's talk about these so-called leaders that we look up to, these religious leaders, political figures, and look at the things that they have done. But I guess we're supposed to overlook those things, right? And look at the good part of it. But we can criticize this woman here because she was involved in the wars and played a part in the transatlantic slave trade. If we gonna talk about her, we gotta talk about everybody. You know, it's not fair to just criticize her because she's a woman. It's not fair to criticize her because she's a woman. But let's do it like this. Let's say y'all was in the mafia, right? Let's say you grew up in the mafia, a crime organized family, and your family running a cartel, and their op or opponent over there, they also got a cartel going on, but they've been at odds with each other for years. And then, of course, there's another op, and then there's another op. Now, by you being raised in a family full of mafias, drug lords, kingspin, queenpin, dons, ladonyas, by you being raised in these particular family and you're surrounded by these family members, you grow up into that lifestyle. Now let's look at the psychology of this. Because now this is all you know. So now the family member got to look at, okay, who's going to run the empire if something was to happen? You can't just really live a normal life or a regular life. You can't just go out here and just be free and nilly. No, you caught up in it. You were born into it. So your life is at risk, whether you had anything to do with it or not, because you was born into the family of the cartels and you was raised into it. So this is all you know. So now you're playing the chess game on your life. So you either going to do what it takes to make sure the things are operating, or you're going to lose your life. And that's hard if you grew up in a family full of drug lords. It's hard if you grew up in a family full of mafias, crime organizations. That's the similar situation with Queen Nzinga. So everybody wasn't perfect. Everybody didn't do the right thing. If we're going to make the argument. So in this world, you're going to have a lot of cutthroats, malicious people. You're going to have a lot of traitors. Go ask Fred Hampton. He had a lot of traitors. One of the people that traded him was supposed to be his bodyguard. He found out that the person was an informant. So what we supposed to do here? How is that supposed to help us? Okay, we know that there's traitors amongst us. We know that there was people that had played their role into slavery. What that's supposed to mean for us as Black people? Are we supposed to hate our bloodline? Are we supposed to hate our lineage because of these individuals? What are we supposed to do? But I know it's this attitude with a lot of these men in this so-called conscious community, because they cannot get away from that patriarchal mindset. Just because people enter into this woke community does not necessarily mean they got away from certain ideologies. They still operate from the mindset of those Westerners, the very same people that have oppressed them. So it's one thing when you talk about history, but if you're going to talk about it in the context where there is going to be some form of bias, there's going to be discrimination based on gender and not based on the overall consensus, then that's a problem. That's a problem. And that's a problem that I had with the Pseudo Killas. Not all of them, because I fuck with some good people in Pseudo Killas, but some of them, nah. I mean, yeah, they have good contents. They talk about good things, but when it came down to this, I said, you know what? I'm not even going to I'm not going to entertain that. So, in peace to everybody in the chat. I'm sorry. Shout out to everybody in the chat, but I wasn't finna entertain that, the 6, 7 hour, 11-hour videos. I wasn't finna get into all of that, because I already know there's going to be somebody coming in there with a bunch of madness. And people are entitled to their opinion. People are entitled to their point of view. But the point is, make sure you make the same assessment about everybody else. Make sure you have that same assessment. Make sure you make that same assessment about the very same people that you looked up to when you got into this conscious community. Make sure you make the same assessment about the people that you looked up to in your neighborhood that you call the big homie and the OGs. And then there was someone that said that, well, I would have done the same thing too. Now, wait a minute. Hold on. First, you criticize this woman for what she did. Then you turn around and say, well, I would have done the same thing too. Which one is it? I mean, which one is it? Would you done the same thing, or would you have not done it? But what I see is a bunch of ego starvation. What I see is a bunch of antagonism. It's more so about who can outdo who can outshine who's the boss, who's the man, who got more knowledge than who, instead of really being about educating the people. That's just what I'm getting from this whole thing with the conscious community. That's what I'm getting from it. Yeah, but one thing I can say, Brother Unc did a great job breaking down his assessment when he was on Dr. Oyama show. Now, I don't talk to Unc very often. I don't really have a conversation with Unc like that. Me and Unc, we kind of like this. Okay. But I will say this, he has made a proper assessment. At least he has a better understanding than his other counterparts. He has a great understanding. He understands history well enough to say this is why it happened. He doesn't agree with the things that took place, I'm quite sure, but He understood, because if you're trying to create a civilization, it's dirty. You gotta play a dirty game. That's why when people start talking in sovereignty status, they don't know what they're talking about. You don't get to just sign paperwork and turn it over to the courts and say, okay, I got sovereignty status. That's not how it works. In order to gain sovereignty, you got to put blood, sweat, and tears into doing shit. Just like if you're going to run into politics, now the only thing about the United States politics is that the president and the administration, they not out there fighting the wars, but guess what? They're calling the shots. They're the ringleaders. They're orchestrating behind the scene. So they're giving out orders to the soldiers or to the lieutenants, the people that are higher up in the military ranks. They're giving out order to them. And those people are following those orders. They're doing as they're told. I think that we all need to go back and read 48 Laws and Power, Machiavelli, The Prince, and The Art of War. We need to go back and read those books to understand what it really means to be in power. Especially when I'm talking about power as in government power, being in political control. What does it take? What type of sacrifice you got to make? What type of oath? I think if we go back and read those books, then we have a clearer mindset. Then we have a better understanding of why these people are doing what they're doing, why the world is the way it is. Everything's not going to be good. Everything's not going to work out for you. As you can see right now, your damn president talking about giving $450,000 to illegal immigrants, but taking $45 billion away from HBCUs and leaving them with $2 billion. So here it is, the immigrants gonna get $450,000 from your president, but the HBCUs only left with $2 billion because they were cut off from that $45 billion. Do you see the cutthroat behind this? Do you see the cutthroat? So regardless of the fact that Nzinga did not want to sell her own people and she was so compassionate, that didn't matter. She was in war. So she could not play checkers. She had to play chess. And she had to figure out how she going to go about doing what type of sacrifice she was going to make. Now, we don't have to like that. We can hate that. We can be mad at her for that. We have a right to be mad at her about that. And the rest of our ancestors for their involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. We have the right to be mad. But we have to understand what type of historical event was taking place at that time period too. Remember, and I'm going to say this. If y'all don't know anything else, excuse me for burping. If y'all don't know anything else, know this. In order to have a civilization, you're going to have to shed blood. In order to have a civilization, there's going to be some bloodshed. There is going to be sacrificing. Now, had she not did what she did, guess what? The Congo would not be where it's at today. It would be totally controlled by the Europeans. It'll be total European domination. Now, some of y'all might think, well, she didn't have to play that game. She could have did it her own way. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. She couldn't really do it her own way. If she did do it her own way, she had to be strategic about it. She had to be very strategic and very careful because she could have got killed. She could have ended up being dead like the rest of her tribesmen. She could have been dead. So she had to be strategic. Now, with that being said, yeah, that's just where I stand on that part about the whole thing with Queen Nzinga and Pseudo Killas. I think that was out of pocket for those brothers to go above and beyond to like degrade this sister because she's a sister, because she's a woman. And that's what they was doing. I don't care what nobody say. They were antagonizing her because they wouldn't do the same thing to these men. If it was somebody else in a position of power, they would not give this type of criticism or antagonism if it was a man. But by this being a woman, she's going to get so many backlash. That's the sexist mindset. That's what you call sexism. That's the sexism. Now, whether they want to admit it or not, that's sexism. That's sexism in disguise. All right, so now let me get back. Let me go ahead to this next thing. Where do I stand with Team Osiris? Now, why am I speaking on Team Osiris? As of today, I'm no longer part of Team Osiris. I had to step away. And I stepped away because for multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons why I stepped away is the fact that I got into it with one of the members and we had a falling out regard to this subject about Queen Nzinga. And it got to a point where there was antagonism and there was the level of disrespect going on. So I said, okay, well, in order for me not to make it even worse, let me just go ahead and remove myself. And of course, this person blocked me. They blocked me. Well, I mean, I'm just going to call the person's name out. Hero. Yeah, Hero blocked me. So that's who I got into it with Hero Jones about this whole thing about Queen Nzinga. He agreed with the Pseudo Killas, and I don't. And he felt like I was coming from the emotional state. And I was called emotional and rude. But it was so much into the argument. So at this point, I just stepped away from it. And I just feel like as a team, this is just me. Okay. I feel like we're not. There's a little progress taking place. That's why I feel like there's a little progress taking place as well. We're not really doing much as a team. So I'm like, what's going on here? We're not doing much as a team. What are we doing? It's almost like a lot of people are very inactive. Like they're not really putting the focus into doing the teamwork. So I'm just kind of like, okay, well, let me step away from this. So yeah, earlier I was on Facebook and I had my little episode. I was like really pissed off and I was like, fuck it. Fuck Team Osiris, this, that, and the other. So again, I don't have any hate towards anyone in the team. Now, there's certain members I don't particularly get along with very well. And Hero happens to be one of them I don't get along with very well. But I don't have an issue with everybody in Team Osiris. I wish them the best. Hopefully they continue to progress and do what they need to do. But I just feel like at this point, it's time for me to move forward. It's time for me. I've been focusing on doing the channel and doing other things, so it's like it's time to just go ahead and do what I need to do. Again, I have no hate towards anybody. And then also this whole thing, it's been other issues going on with Team Osiris. There's been other stuff that I'm not going to really get too much into, but as far as amongst team members and stuff like that. But yeah, it just, I just feel like we're not really progressing as a team. I'm like, what are we doing? So that part, that's another reason. But yeah, one of the main reasons is like this: if I'm gonna fall out with a fellow member in my group, then why I might as well just go ahead and leave, because I don't want to have to keep falling out with this person, this same individual, and then it's like, okay, it's like one of those relationship type of things. You know how when you're in a relationship with somebody, you break up and you make up, you break up and you make up. I don't want to do that. Because if I have to keep falling out with you, keep falling out with you, keep falling out, and then we back cool, and then keep falling out, we back cool, then I just need to step away, because then I don't want to be looked at as the problem in the group. I don't want to be looked at as being very contentious. So I just decided that I just need to go ahead and get the hell away from here. I don't want to be looked at as a problem. I don't want to be looked at as somebody who's being chaotic. You know, I mean, if we're going to be able to disagree, we should be able to disagree without the point that it gets. Because if it's getting to this, then it's time to just. That's what it's time to do. That's what it's time to do. I mean, it's time to just separate. It is. Now, would there be a chance that I'll ever get back with Team Osiris? I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know if I'm gonna ever get back with Team Osiris. I don't know. But again, I don't have an issue with Brother Ngozi. Shout out to Brother Ngozi, Brother Geechee and all them. I'm cool with them. I don't have no issue with nobody. It's just, well, I mean, certain members I don't get along with, but other than that, it is what it is. It's just, you just got to be able to learn how to grow and move on. And that's just with me. It's just time for me to grow and move forward. You know? And it's a lot of things I could really say. There's a lot of stuff I could really say as far as how I really feel regarding the Team Osiris, but I'm not going to do all of that. I'm not going to really put all my feelings out there, put all my thoughts out there, but I just wanted to just talk about a few things. You just got to be able to move forward. You got to. But I will say this. Oh, yeah. I will say that I got to bring this up. So, after Hero and I fell out, Hero said something to me. He said, I'm gonna pull it up because I got it on here. He said, yeah, they were right. You are slow. Okay. He said, yeah, they were right. You are slow. Okay. So, and I'm going to say this to Hero publicly again. As I said earlier, okay, I'll be slow. And I've been called worse names. I've been told a lot of things about myself. I've been treated like a piece of shit. I've been thrown under the bus. I was told that I wasn't smart enough. I was told that I wasn't nothing. I was told that I was a lame. So I've been through the phase of being name called. I've been through the phase of being disrespected. I've been through that shit. And as I said earlier on my Facebook page, I've been through the level of low self-esteem. Okay? I've been through that. At 32 years old, I'm wise enough to look back and laugh about the situation. Because it used to bother me when people say stuff like that. It used to bother me a lot growing up. Yeah. Because of the things that I've been through as a child, and I'm going to say this publicly. I never talked about this, but this is going to be my first time speaking on it. When I was in school, I was placed in what they call the special education class. Those particular class are for people who may have learning disability, some type of mental disability, and people who are have physical disability, etc. So those classes are catered to people like that. It was said to be that I had learning disability. I was told that I had ADHD. Now, I don't know how true that is. I have not got any type of verification behind that. I never really asked too many questions regarding to that. I kind of just let that slide. But I'm quite sure that ADHD had something to do with my childhood trauma. I'm quite sure of that. So because of my childhood trauma, it probably did it did affect my learning ability. I didn't learn as fast as others. I had short attention span, and to this day, I still do have short attention span, which is why I can't sit around watch videos for a very long time, let alone certain movies. You know, especially if it's something that's not as interesting, it's very overwhelming. But I was told that I had that disease. I've been through therapies back and forth. So when I was in the SPED or special education class, I was called SPED. I was called retarded. I had family members who didn't call me retarded. My own sibling, who I don't talk to this day, didn't call me retarded. I was treated like an outcast in my own family. So, with somebody saying I'm slow, that doesn't bother me because I can laugh it off. I may not be as intelligent. I may not be as smart. I may not know a lot of things. And I never claimed to do. I may not be well articulating in my reading. I may not have very, very strong cognitive skills. But one thing about me, I'm a passionate learner. I'm very passionate about learning. That I am. I'm very passionate. And I don't mind sharing things that I've come across with other people. I don't mind sitting down dialoguing with other people that know more than I do. That's one thing about it. I'm not the best looking person. My living situation is okay. It could be better, but I'm okay. So I don't have much to complain about. And I don't have that many people on my channel that's watching, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I don't have a lot of support system, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not getting a lot of views. I'm okay with not getting a lot of support. I had to, I'm not going to say that I'm independent, but I had to be a go-getter at a young age. I had to go out there and learn for myself. Yeah. At the tender age of 17, you trying to figure life out. You got to do what you can. Why was I on my own at that age? Because nobody really gave a damn about me. My mother had her own thing going on. My father and I wasn't on speaking terms. I was staying with an uncle, and that didn't work out too well. So I ended up having to be on my own. What it was, a lot of people didn't have patience with me. They didn't have the patience or tolerance to deal with somebody like me. It's so funny. How can I tolerate myself? Damn, I didn't have the tolerance to deal with myself. And I'm going to be honest about that. I didn't have the tolerance, but I tolerated me. I had to. I had no choice but to look out for me. Now, I came across some good people. I've met a lot of great people. And shout out to those people that I still have connection with to this day. Shout out to those people who still help me out to this day, who's support me. So I'm all right. I'm not upset. Because the way I look at it is that brother showed his true colors. That's how I look at it. Yeah, I said some things to him too. Yeah, I told him to go kick rocks and all that. Yeah, I said a lot of things to him. But what do I expect? I mean, hey, sometimes you gotta leave a place where you're not wanted. And for me, I felt like I was not wanted in Team Osiris. That's what I felt like. Although they said I was, but I felt like I was not wanted. I felt like I was outcast in Team Osiris. I mean, to be honest. So that's why I kind of just stepped away. Just stepped away. I just said, all right, well, it's time to just go ahead and move on. When you no longer have a place at the table, or you no longer feel wanted, you gotta remove yourself from the table. And that's why I felt like I just removed myself from the table. I felt like if I'm gonna be going through this argument with this person all the time, then I need to remove myself. Again, I wish those brothers the best. Hopefully they'll do something in the future. I ain't mad at them. Y'all do y'all thing. And that's that. Hopefully one day I will be able to connect with Brother Ngozi and we can talk. I'm just hoping. That's all I can do. But anyways, so that's all I have for tonight. I have shout out to those of you that was watching this video. Thank you for supporting my channel. And thank you for checking out the videos and sharing my contents and all of that. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. A wonderful night, whatever your time zone may be. And y'all take it easy. So with that being said, this your girl Tiffany. And I'm going to talk to y'all later. With that, peace and power and elevation be to all of you. Y'all take it easy. Deuces. And that's it. All right. Y'all have a good one.